Alrighty, so, new video. So Warpath is on. That, I believe we've already covered this, so essentially it's a PvP event. You get Honor, which is from Infamy, why not? And you get more and more Honor, it's not Infamy. You get more and more medals and Bloodthorium. Medals is nothing to me, but Bloodthorium is. If we go to the shop, gear, exchange that, you can buy heroes, hero tokens, and all that good stuff. You can also buy thorium and medals. So, that's not the aim of the video. So, what I wanted to talk about are the faction traits and how theoretically they could play out to their potential. So, survivors, they get Warlust. Survivor units deal more damage the more units of any type dies in combat. This damage bonus is capped at 100%. That would be too OP if it wasn't. And is reset when the battle instance ends. If we go through all the survivor units I have, and they're going to be low level for the most part. Liberator, level 7. Low damage, low health, pretty low range. Weaver, better health, has a shield which reduces damage, not just blocks it, which is pretty much a joke at this point. The War Dog, which is an amazing anti-infantry unit and for detecting mines, but not for much else. That's it for the infantry. Armor. Disruptor, which isn't really a DPS unit. It's a scrambler / shock unit. The Technical, which is the light armor of choice for survivors. Very strong all-round unit. With the exception to Technical, if you've noticed, the survivor units aren't exactly powerful. Go to the Aircraft. Bonesaw level 5. A decent-ish health. If you compare that to the Apollo, which has a lot more health, and even the Valiant, which has a lot more health, and if we compare the Phalanx to Technical, Phalanx and Technical, they both are the same level, but Technical has more range, Phalanx has a lot more DPS, a lot more, and it shoots more than one bullet. And then if we go to the heavy armor, we have the Hammer, 2 million health, the Purifier, 2.2 million, but this is level 3, and I think this is their heavy armor. Yeah, that's their heavy armor. That's actually weaker, numerically speaking. So with the exception of that, and if you look at the Spartan ZKs, they have more health and more DPS. They have less DPS, but they do a area damage, which I think is better against infantry and sustained fire. If you had the Acolyte, it has a lot more damage, because it's a burst damage. It's not sustain or area effect, and it's got more health, and I think it moves a lot faster, but that's completely irrelevant for the most part. And the Dracon, which is very strong at 8 million to 825,000 health for the most part. Pretty strong. But if you've noticed, and he's technically the Breacher. That's the damage is kind of out there, but the range really puts it off. So what the survivors lack in strength, in power units, for the most part, they make up for it by I think they're the cheapest in terms of space efficiency and population efficiency. They're the cheapest, so they can mass up a big army, and since they're not exactly powerful, they to balance them out, I think they have less repair time than the other factions if you're using their main line standard faction units, which balances them out and makes the survivors playable. But with Warlust, imagine every single one of those units dealing double damage, which is, in my opinion, the strongest out of all the traits. There are a few downsides. First off, we'll go offensively. You've got to build up to it, which means that you're most likely going to lose units before anything happens. That's not good. You don't want to lose units, to get a buff, which may not mean anything late game, or, late battle. That being said, if you have, say, something like the Siege Squadron and it doesn't die immediately and you keep getting Ravages, 3 units, more or less, that deal double damage, it's pretty brutal. Like I said, it's the strongest because it's double damage. The other two, as we'll see, are very situational in my opinion. Whether the Survivor bonus is more useful as a general perk, but with that being said, in certain conditions, the other faction traits can do some pretty deadly work. Okay, so we'll go to Corpus. That's their backstory. I don't really like that too much. So that's the one use. That's regular. So adaptive defense. Corpus units cannot take any more than 15% of their maximum health and damage at any given projectile. Means stuff like this. Pretty much negates a railgun. It's pretty much the hard counter to railgun. So the Phalanx, which I believe has inbuilt armor, so it doesn't get one shot by things anyways, takes even more resistance. So at most they take 15% of damage, which that's a lot when you consider the amount of DPS. Even a level 2 railgun has that would realistically one shot it, but it doesn't because a perk. Its only weakness is sustained fire units, because if they're dealing low damage or like low enough damage where it's to the point where the perk doesn't mean anything, the perk itself is useless. So I mean, that's why I say that these are more situational. Because if the enemy's just got avalanches and other things, theoretically, it should counter itself out. But then again, you've got to put into consideration the Spartans that spawn out of the Phalanx when it takes damage, which is one of the more unique features of the Phalanx itself, and it's kind of a cool feature, really. I wish more units did that. Then again, I guess would ruin the specialty of the Phalanx itself. It also means that air units take less damage, so if you're sending in, say, Furies or Apollos, and you're seeing a shit ton of anti-air like flak guns and hunter missiles, that's not going to be as much of a problem. But that being said, it's still going to be a problem when it's avalanches, because avalanches are the jack of all trades unit turret, master of none, but they're good in almost any situation. Fast firing, high damage, power consumption is a little high just to balance it out, because it'd be OP if it wasn't, let's be honest. And 1,500 per turret. That's a lot, but it's DPS, and it gets stronger as you keep firing, which is pretty brutal. I think. It's a turret. Avalanche. I can't even unlock the rule on that like that. Where is it? Yeah, Avalanche. Powerful turret that powers up as it fires, dealing a large damage when fully charged. There are no targets to power. The turret powers down and loses damage bonus. Very brutal indeed. So yeah, the Phalanx with the boost, I think, is still kind of counted by sustained fire units like that, or Liberators, or Technicals, but in practice, I've noticed Phalanx ruin Technicals in even numbers. I think, or it just might be I have shit Technicals and whatnot, but they're strong. Don't underestimate them. Don't underestimate the perk. It's very strong. I go to the last faction. It is the Sentinels, which are the biggest powerhouse faction, I'd say. They have some of the heavier hitting units. They have the Herald, which is brutal. The Caretaker, which is very strong, and every top tier player I've noticed uses it. And the Jug, which is brutal, like I said. Their unique trait is that they're immune to all negative statuses as far as I'm aware. Not so sure if their units are immune to Zombify and Scramble. I would assume so, since it is technically classified as a negative effect. So, what that means is that if you're sending in, say, your Adra, which is a very powerful purifier, I believe, it's not going to get shocked because if people have shock troopers or SF with shocked ordnance, or if you're playing this defensively or in the PvP battle, if they've got that's electric or something, it will not phase your units. Very strong, very brutal. It also means that you can't get corroded by, say, a technical or a breacher if they somehow manage to survive, which means that it makes your units last longer, especially when you're sending in purifiers, your Jug, Adra, Vindicators, and maybe something anti-air. It also means that your units can't be scrambled. Being shocked is one thing, being scrambled is another, in my opinion. Like, shock, yeah, you can just, you could probably live with. Scramble is another thing entirely. I don't think there are any units that are naturally immune to Scramble. I could be wrong. But that's also situational, because they're not using debuff units or effects, it means nothing. Sorry about the background being nothing. I couldn't be bothered making gameplay. So the Sentinels, they're theoretically good against clearing out bases that deal status effects like shock, scramble, corrosion, zombify, somehow, fire, might be another one, which means that every faction kind of specializes to their faction. Obviously, the survivors being essentially just survivors of the Sentinels, which are like fucking religious and militant organization, we'll say, I think, because they're a cult. I think they're a cult. They're a militarized cult. The survivors just have a lot of hatred towards them, and as such, warlust. And Corpus, I don't know why they would get their perk. I mean, they're a PMC, sure, but I think in the lore of WC, just going off ranting a little bit, I believe they're like the most technologically advanced faction. The exception of Vercraft, but we can't play as them. Fucking rip. And then the Sentinels, I really don't get how they can just be, immune to, say, concussion, corrosion, shock, just because, they want to. But, but they all specialize to their unit variety. Which is what I like, is that it's not just, everyone gets one perk. You just get to pick what units and what kind of command center you get. No, it actually matters. Do you want extremely resistant phalanx? Do you want liberators, technicals, and anything in bone saws dealing double damage? Or do you want your purifiers, Jug, Herald, and Vindicators just rocking into a base, just immune to every single status effect? It's all up to you. It's up to your playstyle and what units you like. I'm just, saying it how it is, and like I said before, the survivor buff might be the strongest from my opinion, but it's not the best, because A, survivor units aren't exactly strong, and B, in case you haven't noticed, you gotta kill to get 100%, unlike the other two, which is given to you at the start of the match, assuming you're only using their faction units. Yeah, there's a huge difference between getting something for instantly at the beginning and having to kill your way to it. If you're in a losing battle, it doesn't mean too much. You can just go down dealing maybe, say, 50% more damage. But if they're Corpus and they have phalanx, rip. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank God. If you have any questions, queries, anything like that, please hit me up in the comments. if you like the video, by all means, share it. Probably gonna become a war commander. YouTube it. Oh boy. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I will see you guys again next video. Maybe, don't quote me on that.